Welcome back to Current Talk Podcast. I'm Cameron.
And I'm Faith. And today we have a special guest, President Timothy Killeen. He is the 20th president of the University of Illinois system since he took office in 2015. He is a geophysicist, space scientist, professor, and university administrator. And he has also worked for NASA and the National Science Foundation as a principal investigator. So now I'm going to hand it over to President Killeen so he can introduce himself and shout out his social media.
Hey, hello, Faith and Cameron, and it's great to meet you this way. You gave me a good introduction. Thanks a lot. I'm president of the University of Illinois, and we call it a system because we've got three universities now. UIS is one of them, a very special one, but we also have the biggest university in the city of Chicago, and of course in Urbana-Champaign. So as president, I'm kind of in charge of all three universities, and I report into a board of trustees. And I'm honored to be in this role. And the first thing that is on my mind always is students. Remember that saying, it's the economy, stupid. For us, it's the students. We're here for the students to provide them the best possible educational opportunities in an affordable way, and that's my passion, and we're doing it really well. And I could talk probably forever about all the things we're doing because I'm very proud of it. But I'd like to focus on whatever things that you would like to bring forward. Yes, I think today might be my 6th year anniversary in this role. So going to my 7th year, and we've seen a lot of things during that time. Together, we graduate 24,000 students a year. Most of them young people, not all young people, a very diverse group of talented individuals who go on to do amazing things in society. So we operate at scale. I mean a lot of people, right? We have 91,000 students altogether. So I'm privileged to be in this role, and I promise you both, because you're students, you're part of our priority system, that I'll do my best in this role.
Yeah, well, thank you for that great introduction. So the first question that we want to talk about is your role as president of the University of Illinois system and what that entails. You kind of talked about it a little bit, but if there's something that you maybe didn't talk about that, kind of just popped into your head.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the question. And there's never a dull day in this role, I can tell you. We have strategic goals, long-term goals, medium-term goals, and then, of course, things are bubbling and happening on a day-to-day basis as well. We've got fantastic body of students. We've got incredible professors. We've got staff, and everybody looks after the buildings and the grounds and all the people who kind of work with us but we have many stakeholders as well. So part of my role is outward looking, outward facing, representing the university to the governor of the state and the state legislative community and the body of alumni, students who graduated in the past. And we have over 750,000 graduates. We call them alums. And they're all over the world, but notably, of course, in Illinois. So we work with them and engage as well. I fundraise for the university. We work on research and development. I'm involved in building planning, for the student union, for example, at UIS. I put a lot of work into that with my colleagues there at UIS, and I'm just delighted at the outcome because it's such an incredible facility. So facilities, students, teaching, just making sure that we're as good as we can be, and that we're going in the right direction with the right principles. And in fact, I have a coffee cup that I use to remind me of what our job is. Maybe I can bring that forward. I don't know if you could see it. So we have a strategic plan, University of Illinois system. We call it Altogether Extraordinary. Not that we're bragging too much, but this is an amazing place. And I hope you share some of the pride. And then on the other side, I have the four pillars of what was. Can you see that, Faith?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And you see, pillar one is students, right? So I told you it's all about the students. Pillar two is impact, which means we want to have an impact on the world, on the state, on knowledge and on knowledge dissemination and good things and human capital development. And then the third pillar is Illinois, because we're in Illinois and
Hmm.
we're a state. We want to do it here in Illinois. And the last pillar is today. Can you see that? And that
Yeah.
means we don't want to wait. Life is short. We want to be the best we can be now, the most efficient, the most welcoming, the most excellent in our teaching and in our research and in our contributions to society. So what it makes, those four pillars together make a sentence. Students impact Illinois today, and that's how I simple mind. That's how I remember what we're all about. So my job is to optimize the impact of an institution, but focusing squarely on the student experience and making sure that we're not waiting to be great, that we're walking the walk and we're being as good as we can be, and that's important too. As you both realize, there are ups and downs. We're in a global pandemic. I think we're coming out of it now. But we've seen budgetary issues as well. So we have to make sure that we're as good as we can be all the time. And I think part of my role is to sort of set that tone and direction and make sure that we've got great people, a lot of communication so that people are sharing where they are in an open, transparent way, and then demonstrating to our many stakeholders just how good we are. So there's a little bit of, and as Chancellor Jones in Urbana always says, it's not bragging if it's true. So we like to talk truthfully about all the things we do to impact the world. And but all of that said, the voice of the students are more important than the voice of the president, frankly, because we're serving your experience as best we can, and we're trying to do it in many ways. So I try to reflect that part of it. A lot of it's about money, I have to say, because of fiscal issues. We need to make sure that we're affordable for students, that they can afford to join the university, and that when they're here and it's accessible. So we don't want to be known for turning people away. We want to be known for welcoming students and making it affordable, so that it's the debts and so forth are not crushing. And I'm very proud that we've just once again frozen tuition for the whole university, the sixth time in 7 years. So that means 0%, 0%, 0%, 0%, 0%, 0%. We've not raised our rates for our students. I'm proud of that because it means that there are fewer barriers, financial barriers, because families often don't have the wherewithal. So we're also, not only are we keeping the tuition down, and but we're also increasing our financial aid for students and families, so that in fact most of our students don't pay the full tuition. We find ways to provide financial aid. And in the time that I've been here, in the last 10 years, we've doubled the amount of financial aid that the institution provides to students. So affordability is so important, and it's always on my mind because when we accept a student and they, for whatever reason, they don't come, we ask them, why didn't you come? Sometimes the answer is we felt we couldn't afford it, and we try to explain the paths to do that. So we want to be accessible, affordable, diverse, inclusive, welcoming, and that's the walk we've got to walk. At the scale of a 90,000 student body, and we're doing it. And you're going to ask, can you do it better? And the answer is yes. Yes, we need to every day try to get better. And I come back to the coffee cup, right? And impact. We want to optimize the impact. We want to make sure that we're always thinking about how we can do a better job, not content with where we are, but looking where we are. So we've got the metrics, and we're looking at the outcomes carefully, but making sure that we're increasing that impact. And in some universities, you find people talk about rankings, and we don't talk so much about rankings. We want to have optimized impact for people and families and communities, and that's the role of a public institution like ours. But we want to have options within that. You want to go to the city of Chicago, Big Ten institution in Urbana-Champaign, or the much more intimate setting in UIS, which is smaller numbers of students on a beautiful campus. And as part of that impact and student-centered approach, we want to make it safe environment for learning. And as you know, and I hope you've been being tested for COVID and going through all the protocols and so forth, we have done a great job, I have to say, on keeping our campus community safe by testing frequently, by determining if we need to go into isolation or quarantine, by making sure we're on top of this whole thing. And I'm very proud that, it's the end of the semester now. We're going through these commencement exercises, some virtual, and the prevalence of COVID in our student body is really very small. We've managed to basically crush it. I like to use the word crush in that instance, but so our students are going home for the summer with very, very little incidence of COVID. And that's important to us too, because we don't want to negatively affect the communities that we're working with, right? Our impact in the community as much as on our campuses. So those are the kinds of things that I fill my day. Obviously, I talk to the chancellors, collaborate with the chancellors, and Chancellor Whitney at UIS. I'm in regular contact with her. I was in contact with her yesterday. I work with many colleagues, and of course interface with the Board of Trustees, which is the ultimate body that decides on appointments and things like that. So I'm in interface with the State Board of Trustees. So as you think about your careers, I'd be interested in knowing what you want to do with your lives as you move on. But I can tell you that the academy is a good place because you're interacting always with young people, and you can get a lot of joy out of seeing people develop and progress, and gain skills and competencies, and learn how to discern and to make decisions, and I think as we do that really well, our brand in a way just propagates every year outbound, and that fills me with a lot of joy. So it's a different kind of job, different kind of way to devote your psychic energy. But I think public educational establishments like ours are very almost noble, but they are noble enterprises. We're not doing something that's going to make something worse. We're trying to optimize the good that flows out of, and that includes a lot of research, understanding cancer, understanding environmental stresses, figuring out what interventions might work, deeply understanding nature, doing arts and humanities and music and ethics and legal analyses and healthcare. We have to do all of those things and provide avenues for professional, personal growth. So I'm talking a lot, so maybe you want to ask me another question.
Yeah, like I loved how you talked about the range diverse roles that you're in, especially like when you talked about the facilities and the student union that we have at UIS, because I found like the union is like, a great place to like chat. And I've been to great events at the union. So I felt like it really helped like the UIS community and just coming
Yeah,
together. So like I really
yeah,
appreciate that. And for me, like personally, like what kind of drew me to like the University of Illinois system was just that the fact that it was in like the state that I was living in. And Since
Yeah.
I am now a nursing student because I just got accepted to the UIC nursing program, what kind of drew me in was like,
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. Um, what kind of drew me in was like, the research and
Sorry to interrupt. Yeah. No, I'm sorry to interrupt. That's such a great nursing program that you're going into.
yeah.
It's fabulous nursing. Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
Sorry.
that's what like inspired me to want to apply because I saw like the ranking and what they were doing. And I was like, yeah, like I want to be a part of that. So that's kind of what drew me in. And then also I wanted to be in like a very small environment and kind of have
Mm,
like that closeness with like my professors. So that's kind of why I chose UIS and why I'm choosing to do it at the UIS campus because it works for me personally. But yeah, like Cam, if there's anything you wanna like add, something that the president kind of
right.
talked about that really stood out.
Yeah. What's your story, Cameron? That's a wonderful story.
Yeah, so I'm a communications major at UIS, and one of the biggest things that drew me to UIS was just the familiarity within the students and the faculty, and how everyone knows each other, and it's really like a small, close-knit family community. Especially my first full year at UIS, all my professors knew me by my name. If I saw them on campus, they'd be like, "Hi, Cameron, how you doing?" Wanted to check in. One of my professors would even send me like bi-weekly, just like, hey, just wanted to check in. How are you feeling about this class? And it was really just shocking because I didn't get that experience with my teachers in high school. Like it wasn't as close and um, really like since I went to a really big high school, I didn't have the luxury to really get to know my teachers.
Mhm.
But it's been a really great experience to not only see familiar faces, but to also really form a strong bond with
Yeah.
these professors that I really did not think I would anywhere else. And I just love, especially with everything that's happened so far, even though Faith and I will be rising juniors, just the opportunities that I've gotten to do with different organizations and even starting this podcast. If I never met Faith and went to UIS, this would not be happening right now. So I'm just very blessed in the fact that the people I've met and just the overall welcoming experience that I've had at UIS has been really, really unforgettable and very memorable experience.
Okay. Well, both of those narratives are just exactly, they're beautiful, first of all, because you're seeing, your own horizons grow, right? Through friendships, new connections, and new ideas and new pathways and so forth. And that's what we're all about. The bigger campuses, we try to do it by creating smaller communities within the big campus. And there's always a place to find your niche. But what you've described is perfect for UIS because it does have this intimate feeling about it, and it's a close knit community. Um, and then as you sort of develop, what you need to do, I hope, is reach back to the next wave of young people, and the next wave of young people, and the next wave of young people, because you'll get more joy out of that as you go through this yourself, and then when you graduate, you really got to savor that moment and celebrate, and your families too, because it's such an accomplishment, and then give back to the next generations, because that's how you kind of optimize impact for public good in as an altogether extraordinary kind of university. So I'm using the language of our strategic plan. When you say that, when you describe what's going on, I'm thinking my mind goes to commencements, and why I get sort of inspired by this job and what we're doing. If you now we're not unfortunately not doing a lot of the handshaking that I would typically do, right? Um, Thousands and thousands in these different places, but usually you see the pride of accomplishment, and also the students supporting each other with you know love and support and friendship that's really deep, because you make incredible friends in these. in these years of your life. But then you look into the eyes of the parents, and you see the pride there in the families. Then you look in the eyes of the grandparents, and sometimes they are just blown away by the whole sort of transformation of the young lives that are occurring. So I like to think we're in the transformation business. And now the UIS union did work on that. If you were to disassemble it, there's a big beam, a structural beam in there with my signature on it with a big Sharpie, right? I put my signature on it because that and Chancellor, former Chancellor was really instrumental in making that happen. But it's a gathering place for the whole campus. It creates a nucleus of togetherness that I think is really important for the whole experience. And I told you that the student voice was more important. We'll have to get you give that story, those two stories, elsewhere sometime. It's very, very nice to meet you, and I look forward to the graduation in a couple of
Yeah,
years, right? Yeah.
yeah. So like
Yeah.
another question that we have for you is what is your goal and vision for expanding diversity and inclusion among all the three U of I campuses?
Yeah, this is a really, as you all know, this is a really important question. I'm glad you're asking me. We have a huge commitment to diversity. And in the last, the time that I've been here, we've gone from 24% underrepresented minority undergraduates to 32%. It may not sound like, but it's a product of continuous recruitment, outreach, etc. And so we need to continue that. We're still not where we need to be. We've made significant gains, I would say. And it's all about the finances, believe it or not, we talked about before. They're critically important to make sure it's affordable, right? And people know that it's there for them. That they don't see an obstacle that is impenetrable to get into. And then it's also the welcoming and the nurturing and the support system. So your professors who know your name as you walk around. That's part of the whole storyline. We are very proud that we have retention and graduation rates. All of our metrics across the system are really strong. But again, they need to be better. So we continue to work hard on this. And it's important that students see role models as well, people that they can relate to in all of the different layers of the organization. And we're working on that too. So we're recruiting underrepresented minority professors and administrators as well. So this is right now it's a historical imperative to really get this where it needs to be. We've made progress, I would say, steady progress, but not fast enough. So if you ask what do we need to do, we need to accelerate on this front, and it involves making sure that students succeed, that they bounce in and bounce out, because that's problematic. If they bounce out to another university or continue somewhere else, that's good, fine. But if they join us and then don't make it to the next step, that's a problem. So we're working intensively on bridge programs that are mentoring programs, so that there is this welcoming sense. I think that's as important as the financial aspects. The role model aspects as well are critical. And then we need to be out and about recruiting in high schools, telling the stories of the families, and we need to get the state legislature. I've started a caucus of state legislators, which is now 70 members who are alums of one of our universities. We're meeting on Monday again, and it's important. They're in a very important decision-making system in the state, because the funding that comes from the state is very important for our fiscal ability to do all of these things. So we're working on that front as well. And then we need the narratives and the financial aid as well. I would say we keep track of all of these things, so we're watching the progress. For Latinx students, we've done a better job. It's gone faster, and but for African American students and students who maybe self-identify with multiple races, one of which is African American. We've made inroads, but there's a distance to go yet. So you can both help us with this by talking to your high school counselors, former high school counselors, um, telling them, but did you know that U of I froze tuition for the last 6 years and has this commitment? So we need you as ambassadors too, because I don't think people in some settings can appreciate that it's for them, right? That this is an opportunity that they
Mhm.
can embrace. The obstacles seem to, the forms to fill in and all of those things can feel like obstacles. So what we want to do is to provide what I call on-ramps. So middle school kids can see, can get an experience with something that, points them in the direction of higher educational opportunities. And then the giving back that I talked about is very important too. So we're on track, I would say, but we need to accelerate and our efforts. And so I'm committed to do that. And if you've got any ideas on what we should be doing better, don't hesitate because you're as very much as anybody else stakeholders in this. Um, the financial piece of it may sound a little boring compared with other things, but it's pivotal. It's pivotal
Mhm.
because students sometimes leave Illinois because they think that there's a better opportunity out elsewhere, and most times it's not true
Mm.
because we do provide a lot of financial aid. Um, and then we need to engage our alumni too and celebrate what we're doing. But we are a diverse community. We are a diverse community. UIC is it just won the Excelencia Award for national diversity. It's ranked in the top 15 in the country for diversity. And UIS has a smaller version of that in
Mhm.
in Springfield. Um, but as you know, these are important issues for our times.
Yeah.
They really are.
Yeah.
Institutions like ours need to pave the way and be known for not leaving people behind. That's
Mhm.
unconscionable, Faith,
Yeah.
that people feel left out or left behind. And so that's not our job is to welcome everybody, open our doors as wide as possible. That's why we're growing our enrollments. And next year, I'm delighted our acceptances look across the system look like they're up. So we want to open our doors as wide as we can and then have our students succeed. So they get their credentials, they get their degrees, they don't have overwhelming debt, they can pay down their debt if they have it, and ideally they don't have it. And then we track them with their jobs and hopefully provide opportunities as well post graduation. And we have, as part of this whole effort, we have an innovation agenda as well, which means that we want to create new jobs. Um, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I've just got a window popped up that wants me to update things, but you can see me and hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can get this window to go away.
Okay.
Then I can see you. Okay. I think I'm back. It thinks it's
Okay.
a Saturday morning, time to upgrade all the software, right? That's what it is a Saturday morning.
Yes.
Yeah, so like I really was inspired by what you said because like one of the things that drew me to UIS and also UIC was the emphasis of diversity because I do identify as like an Afro Latina. So I wanted to be in
Okay.
an environment where I felt supported. And like for me,
Yeah.
like growing up in a predominantly white school, even though I'm still at a predominantly white institution, but I feel like there's more support for me than
Mhm.
there was in high school. And so I really just appreciate how like UIS has like a strong like diversity center, and I just feel like very comfortable being there and being with people that, you know, maybe like me or maybe, you know, share a different identity. But I just love like learning about like new identities, new experiences. And so like that's what I, you know, really love about UIS, and just like the events that like celebrate Black culture, Asian American culture. And I just really, you know, appreciate and love like the diverse like events and aspects that is brought to the
Yeah,
university. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I
When,
definitely agree with Faith. When I went to UIS, I was just blown away with all the programming that were not just for specifically the diverse backgrounds on campus, but just to also inform the community. Like at my high school, that they have an organization at UIS called OLAS, which is the Organization for Latin American Students. And then they have the Indian Student Association. Like there was not anything like that at my high school. So being able to um, go to these events and to meet all these different students from different backgrounds has been really nice. And even getting to know close friends like our one of our roommates from this past school year, Lisette, she was one as well as Faith who introduced me to OLAS and just all the different programming and just letting me inform myself more about issues going on in the Hispanic community and what I can do to help. So I definitely have been well informed, but also feel included um, to help make that more possible and accessible and
yeah.
easier for students to feel more welcoming.
That that's wonderful, and I think your efforts are, you know, part and parcel of our efforts to do this. So I do think everybody gains from diversity. You know, all the different backgrounds, racial backgrounds, socioeconomic backgrounds, international students as well. That and so you know we're not partisan in any dimension except for students. Doesn't matter what they look like, what they sound like, where they come from. We just take care of our students, and
Mhm.
so this
Hmm.
sense of enriching lives through nurturing and diversity and welcoming that and embracing it is really what we need to be doing at scale, particularly now. And you know, there are several things that I'm working on that I'm. One of the things I'm excited about right now is we've just solidified a relationship with Mexico because you know Illinois and Mexico, there are a lot of young people of Mexican heritage in Chicago. I mean, millions, and Puerto Ricos
Yes.
as well, and everything else. So, and yet we don't have many Mexican passport carrying students. We don't have enough. So that in the whole U of I system, it's less than 50, I think. So what an
Hmm.
opportunity, right, to open a
Yeah.
pipeline of, and so we've signed agreements with Mexico. We've signed agreements with Tec de Monterrey, which is a private school, with UNAM, which is the biggest school in that. I could go on, but I think these partnerships are really important too around the world, literally, and then having this commitment to diversity that enriches everybody, not just subgroups, but everybody, and we know that. And so we need to do it at scale. It needs to be like breathing, not forced,
Mhm.
but just like the way it should be. And so all of that, I think, is something that I'm very passionate about too. I mean, from my accent, you know, I'm an immigrant, and we need to care for everybody, all students, DACA students as well, right? And uh, so, so these are critical issues of our times. And as you know, social media can be full of things that are negative and incorrect. And so we've got to sort of, in a way, be an antidote to some of the negativity that's in the air. And
Yeah.
the best way to do that is to be to be honorable and to have integrity and to create podcasts that speak the truth to people and illuminate and inspire, perhaps, but also describe important things. So that's important role of universities as well. They're important institutions in society right now, and but they're only as good as our student body is. We're all here to support you.
Mhm. Yeah, well, thank you about for that. Um, I love how you talked about the relationship that you're starting to have with Mexico and like forming that and how that's gonna really like produce like great things out of that. And so like it kind of reminded me of our last question that we have for you is like what is one of the most important thing or things that you want to accomplish before you are out of office?
Well, thank you for that question. I'm not really thinking about when I'm out of office yet. I'm just making sure I'm doing the best I can every day,
Yeah.
which is
Mm.
what sort of motivates me. And so I'm not thinking about legacy issues, but I am thinking about my coffee cup here and optimizing impact for the public good for with a student-centered thing. And there's so much to do in that reference frame. We are, sometimes people talk about going from good to great. There's a famous book that's written, a management book on going from good to great. In my mind, we're great. The University of Illinois system is great, but we can go from great to magnificent. You know what the difference is? We can be
Yeah.
even more on all of these fronts. We can be even more affordable. We can be even more successful. We can be even more effective in education and in solving societal problems and helping society and civic engagement. And all of those things have to be continuously improved. Um, and there is a competitive piece in me that says, yes, we want to be the best, and we want to be known to be the best, right? Sometimes we call it the model for public higher education anywhere. And I think we have a platform that is, you know, obviously it's my job to say these things, right? But I think it's an amazing place with incredible legacies of accomplishment and growth over 150 years, commitments to all the things that you care about and education and so forth, and and history is awaiting us, right? And we want our students to change the world, uh, not to dot I's and to cross T's, but to influence and contribute. And obviously, we have a special responsibility to our state of Illinois. But if you think about it, Illinois is the capital of the Midwest. Chicago is the capital of the Midwest. The Midwest is a third of the GDP of the United States. Illinois itself is as big as the Netherlands, so we're like a nation state. We ought to be
Mhm.
thinking big
Yeah.
and not just incremental. So you're asking me. Um, I obviously, now you ask me, I would definitely want to leave the institution in a better place than at the beginning. And I think it's that difference between great and magnificent that I'm working on, because I don't want to take anything away from the past, right? And we want to sort of dignify the past and reflect on accomplishments properly, and congratulate the professors and everybody who's been involved in developing the campuses and everything. But yeah, we've got to be leaning forward as well into the future, and these issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion are critical for the future. Um, and we have to be in a leadership role here at our university system uh, as well to take that on. But we need to be brilliant in healthcare delivery and its testing for COVID, and all of the things that connect to people's lives and livelihoods as well, and do it at large scale. That sounds, I'm replaying what I just said in my head, and it sounds pretty vague, but I hope you'll forgive me. That's because on a Saturday morning, that's the best I can come up with, perhaps. But I will think about that. Maybe have a much snappier answer next time you ask. Yeah.
Yeah, I really what kind of stuck with me was how you said that there's like a difference between like great and magnificent, and that there's always growth that needs to happen. And I totally agree with that. Like I feel like there's always improvement and growth that we need to do. And so like that's kind of what I guess like value and stuff. Like there's always improvement in like myself and like in other, people and places and stuff. And so like I'm all for that. And yeah, I kind of loved like your message of that, and how there's, always something that needs to be done, always something that can be better. So, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe my last comment is every treat every day as a gift, right? You embrace it, recognize
Yes.
deficiencies of the past honestly. So don't just put things under the carpet or anything like that. But use so it sounds like you both are, and in important ways. And so and this podcast is an example of that kind of fresh thinking. So wonderful. Thank you for
Mhm.
including me today.
Yeah, thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you so much, President Killian, for joining us today on our podcast. We know you are extremely busy, and just you taking time out of your Saturday to talk with us and record with us today really means a lot, and we really appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Well, bye bye. Take care. See you soon. Maybe a graduation at a minimum, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.